Thank you. Madam Forelady, if you'll stand for me, please. Have you reached a verdict?
Yes, sir, we have.
Is it unanimous?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, if you will pass it up, please, and you may be seated. Defendant will rise. Madam Clerk, you may publish the verdicts.
Indictment number 2019 GS 40-2528, the state of South Carolina versus Nathaniel David Rowland. This is an indictment for possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. Read the jury find the defendant guilty. This is signed four-person juror number 130, July 27, 2021. Indictment number 2019 GS 40-2450, the state of South Carolina versus Nathaniel David Rowland. This is an indictment for murder. Read the jury find the defendant guilty. This is signed four-person juror. This is signed by four-person juror number 130, July 27, 2021. Indictment number 2019 GS 40-2453, the state of South Carolina versus Nathaniel David Rowland. This is an indictment for kidnapping. Read the jury to find the defendant guilty. This is signed four-person juror number 130, July 27, 2021. Madam four-person, are these your verdicts and the verdicts of the entire jury?
Yes, ma'am.
Any individual polling requested?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you will poll the jurors individually by their juror numbers.
Yes, Your Honor. Juror number 130, were these your verdicts?
Yes.
Are they still your verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 469, were these your verdicts?
Yes.
Are they still your verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 169, were these your verdicts?
Yes.
Are they still your verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 516, were these your verdicts?
Yes.
Are they still your verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 635, were these your verdicts?
Yes.
Are they still your verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 72, were these your verdicts?
Yes.
Are they still your verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 534, were these your verdicts?
Yes.
Are they still your verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 73, were these your verdicts?
Yes.
Are they still your verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 201, were these your verdicts?
Yes.
Are they still your verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 103, were these your verdicts?
Yes.
Are they still your verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 520, were these your verdicts?
Yes.
Are they still your verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 414, were these your verdicts?
Yes.
Are they still your verdicts?
Yes.
Jurors have been polled, Your Honor.
The verdict of the jury is unanimous. Any post-trial motions?
May it please the court, Your Honor.
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the defense will renew all of our pretrial motions, specifically but not limited to our motion to suppress because of the illegal stop that was performed on Mr. Rowland's car on March 30th, 2019. We would renew all objections throughout the trial, Your Honor, and we would ask at this time for a new trial based on the brevity of deliberations. The court was presented with at least 32 witnesses, over 300 pieces of evidence, and by my count, Your Honor, the jury was out for an hour and 7 minutes. So we would ask for a new trial based on the brevity of the deliberations from the jury.
A response by the state.
Your Honor, we would just ask that you stand by your previous rulings.
In all the rulings made by the court, we listened to the arguments of the state and the defense. The police investigating the missing person and coming upon Nathaniel Rowland at the location they did had a reasonable suspicion to engage a traffic stop of his vehicle, which matched the description of the vehicle that Ms. Josephson entered. The court stands by its ruling regarding the sufficient basis to stop the vehicle. The court also affirms all of its previous rulings during the course of the trial with regard to the what the defense says is the brevity of the deliberations. The state presented a clear, cogent, convincing, and overwhelming case of guilt. The evidence was clear for the jury to see. During the course of the past week, the jury reviewed the evidence in 1 hour and 7 minutes. Was a sufficient time for them to do that, and I respectfully deny the motion. And ladies and gentlemen, when you find someone guilty, then it becomes my duty to impose a sentence. And my experience tells me that all jurors are typically interested in seeing what happens beyond a verdict, and I invite you to stay for sentencing. We're going to move into that phase of it at this time. By the state.
One moment, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor is inclined at this time, the state is prepared to present victim impact.
All right, is the defense ready to proceed with sentencing as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, proceed. Mr. Goldberg, Mr.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, please report. This is Marci Josephson, Samantha's mother.
All right, thank you.
Words cannot express the anguish our family and friends have endured since he kidnapped and brutally murdered Samantha. From the day I found out I was having Sammy, I was in love with her. As a mother, you worry and pray that your child will be safe, happy, and healthy. When she was sad, I was sad. When she was happy, so was I. Her dreams were my dream, and her death was my death. I close my eyes and I feel what she endured at his hands 120 times, over and over and over, fighting for her life, locked in his car. I used to have dreams for her. Now all I have are nightmares 120 times. The final moments, her bare feet kicking and fighting for her life. I visualize the blood flowing from her body, her beautiful body, 120 times for what? The $35 a college student has in her bank account? The loss of Sammy is beyond words. There'll be no more birthday parties, backyard gatherings, holiday celebrations, or activities to share with her. I was planning my trip to Columbia in 2019 to watch my daughter graduate from college. Instead, I went to Columbia to gather her belongings. I cannot watch my daughter graduate from law school, get married, or have children, all of which were her dreams. Her laughter, hugs, guidance, advice, and opportunities to tell her I love her are gone. Our family of four is forever broken. All I have are memories of the past and thoughts about what her final moments on earth must have been like. He erased my future with Sammy, but he cannot touch my memories. The excruciating pain he put her through is unimaginable. I pray that when Sammy closed her eyes, she thought of beautiful things. His evil face was not the last thing she saw before she took her last breath. I pray that her grandparents and uncle wrapped her in her loving arms. In 1 second, our lives changed. I miss her. Everything she touched was better because she made it so. The lessons she taught me as a mom are carried through me forever. She brightened up the day with her smile. The pain and loss are beyond words. He changed me forever. The heinous and brutal crime could have happened to anyone. Sammy was a reflection of everyone's child. Sammy had a bright future. She worked hard to accomplish her goals. She was kind and compassionate and would never hurt anyone. She did not prey upon others. I walked hand in hand with her throughout her 21 years. Her death sliced through my heart. Now I see sadness in ordinary days. I miss her heartfelt laugh. I am breathless and I want my Sammy. Such a heinous, vicious crime. Why? I spent the last 2 years asking myself that question. He cut out a piece of me. I'm bleeding silently. You don't see it. I try to move forward each day, but forever will be broken. One cannot explain the grief my family feels. There was no warning, no time to say goodbye, no time to tell Sammy all the things I would have wanted to say, no time to kiss her cupola. We were thrown into this world of terror. My world is now incomplete. Nothing but memories can fill the emptiness of Sammy's passing. I miss her precious voice, her giggles and humor. I long to know that she closed her eyes and visualized her family in peace and not his face. I will never comprehend why he did what he did. I try not to dwell on how she died. Rather, I want to remember how she lived, but I'm not there yet. I had the gift of being Samantha's mother for 21 years. I despised everything about him. His eyes glaring at my family during the trial told me everything I already knew about him. He is pure evil. Samantha fought for her life because her life was worth fighting for. I wish I could gather the broken pieces of my heart. I am breathless. I want my Sammy. The ache that spreads throughout my body hurts more each day. I cannot fully express how it feels to lose a daughter. The ache, the longing, endlessly tearing me up inside. He's a monster, he's evil and pathetic. The excruciating pain he put my daughter through is unimaginable. I am shattered, angry, and heartbroken. His ruthless, violent act took a bright light out of my universe and changed many lives forever. He stole my beliefs. However, I pray every day. I pray that he feels Samantha's pain. I pray that he get what he deserves under the law. I pray that he never has a chance to hurt anyone ever again. Everyone has choices. He may not like them now, but it was his choice to kidnap and murder Sammy, and he will have to face the consequence of his choices. I ask the court, I ask your honor to impose the strictest sentence upon him so that he may never walk the streets as a free man again for the rest of his life.
Thank you.
Your Honor, at this time, Chief Allroad, Columbia Police Department.
Yes, sir, Chief.
Your Honor, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Sir, I've been a police officer for 30 years. I've been a patrol officer, a special agent, and honored my life as being the police chief here in Columbia. I've never experienced a more heinous act, an act of violence that tore the fabric of our community. Violent crime is destroying our country right now. Lack of accountability, I think, played much a role in that. This crime ripped our community. I saw the effect that it had on this family, on our law enforcement community. The effort in the first 48 hours between our state agents and our local officers was unparalleled to anything I've ever experienced. The most difficult thing that I think I've ever done is stand before this family to let them know that we were bringing their daughter home, but also to find the courage on how to talk about what had happened to their daughter. I implore you to make sure that this young man never can prey on anybody in this community again, and is held accountable for these heinous acts. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
This is Samantha's sister, Sydney.
Justice. That's all I can ask for at this point. After discussing my sister this past week,
A little louder, please.
after discussing my sister this past week and knowing nothing can bring her spunky self back except for justice, that's all that my family and friends and I want. Like most sisters, that's just the relationship we had, being spicy and going back and forth, knowing exactly how to push each other's buttons, made me laugh and cry. She made me remember not to take life too seriously. She was so funny without even meaning to be. With such plans for the future, her full ride to law school, and together we had plans to have kids that would grow close together, spend much time vacationing at our future beach house, and taking advantage of the life we thought we could have. Sammy always knew she was included with me and my friends, even when I didn't invite her, but always rallied along, and I loved spending time with her. I'm at a loss right now, and I can't even imagine how to put my emotions into words. Nothing will replace her, nothing I can say will bring her back, and nothing that I can say I know will ease my family's pain and heartache. Every day, having to go through the same thing over and over again, with being forced to recognize exactly how we lost her and how she will not be with us. No one should have to go through this stress and sadness that we all face on a daily basis, minute by minute. I ask this court, and I ask your honor, to impose the strictest sentence upon him so he will never have this opportunity to do this again to another person or family, or to walk the streets as a free man, because he certainly did not let my sister walk a free woman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Samantha's father, Seymour.
Mr. Judge, I have no idea how to get through this. I wear my emotions on my sleeve, so I apologize. I have a book here that was created from family and friends. In here are over 90 impact statements of friends and family of how they've been devastated for the last 28 months. I only wish that you read these, of how impactful it has hit my community, my friends, and my family. I have this here for you if you wish to read at any time.
Yeah, I do. I wish to read it. I'd love to, if you would Hand it up, please.
I need glasses. I can't read off of a phone. It's too old for that. Thank you, Judge, for the opportunity to stand here and share with you the impact of losing my baby daughter, Samantha Josephson. I really don't know where to start or what to say. Do I stand here today and tell you that I've been an incredible amount of anger, an incredible amount of guilt, can't sleep at night. I don't want to go to sleep because all I do is start thinking of Samantha. I still, to this day, can't watch videos of Samantha. I hate looking at pictures. I have repeated nightmares and visions of him, the monster, stabbing her. I have visions of her foot on the back window. I have visions of her screaming and fighting. I have visions of her taking her last breath. I have such hatred running through me. I still, to this day, can't believe she is gone. I keep waiting for her to walk through the door, saying, "Hey," only the way she does. I had this guilt of her not coming home that weekend to visit Rutgers Law School. The weekend prior, we were at Drexel Law School, where she had a full scholarship, and Rutgers was only offering 60 or 70%. I just told her that she would be fine at Drexel Law School, and not to bother with Rutgers. So over money, I told her not to. And Drexel was great, and it'd be a free ride. With all this guilt and anger and rage and hatred, do I tell you that has this really affected me? Do I really share with you my deepest secrets? Do I tell you that I've contemplated suicide? Several times over the past 28 months. He, the monster, has stolen this bright light, this enthusiasm of life out of me. I try to stop having these thoughts or desires only because I'm afraid of what this would ultimately do to Sydney and Marci. I know I have changed so dramatically that it's actually bad to put into words. People always ask, "How are you doing?" My answer is, "I'm upright," or "I'm living the dream," or the nightmare. I stand here before you for Marci, Sydney, Samantha, to make sure justice is served for Samantha. I would tell you, Judge, for the first 2 years, I didn't even know his name. I never wanted to hear his name, or I still don't want to know or hear his name. I stand here for the last week in bewilderment, asking, how in the world did we get here? Why does he, this animal, have any rights? How is it okay for him to go over to his family freely during breaks, unchanged? Why does he have this right? With an avalanche of evidence, while the family and friends sit here in such pain, wishing and wanting to have our Samantha back. But no, with 120 wounds and stabbings, you or anyone cannot bring her back. But we have him walking and talking to his family freely. It kills me to witness this. I often think of Sammy or go to call her. As a matter of fact, until recently, we still had her cell phone active, so I could call or text her. A lot of the times I think of Sammy sitting on the couch, looking at my two favorite pictures of Sam and one of Sydney and Sam together. She is such a beautiful person, inside and out. Samantha was to graduate that spring of 2019 from the University of South Carolina. She was going to attend Drexel Law School on a full scholarship in Philadelphia. She wanted to help others and fight for people's rights. Samantha was one of the kindest, light-hearted, funny people you would have met. Obviously, she trusted too many people. Just recently, last week, I received an email from one of her freshman 101 professors. She mentioned how funny and bright-hearted she was, how memorable she was, how she was the bright light and stood out with her class. Good drink. Sorry. We would sit on the couch in the family room and just talk about everything, from politics to the world. She would listen, ask questions, digest it, and then give her opinions. Sammy would call me late at night to talk about the news, the world, or anything. Both of my kids knew or know how to wrap me around their fingers. Each of them are different, but know how to sucker me in. I knew or know this, but I would laugh. I knew or know this, but I would laugh and smile and always say yes. Samantha always knew I would say yes and to buy them whatever. I have to say, I miss and ache for that. That night of her kidnapping and murder, she called me about using my credit card because supposedly hers didn't work with Uber or a Lyft. I said, really? But okay. I often find myself alone and not wanting to be around anyone. I force myself to go out or be around people. I've had a bad time putting up with people and their BS, so I've eliminated some people and their negative personalities. I just don't care anymore. We started a foundation in Samantha's honor. Part of my responsibilities is to go around and speak to groups, colleges, businesses on rideshare safety, and they always ask, how do you do this? I would just answer, no clue. But not doing this for a while, I looked back and thought about it. It was cathartic. I was keeping Sammy around me, with me, and not letting anybody forget, not even him, could take this from me. I won't let him. Someone always asks me, what was Samantha like? The only way I can best describe Samantha is when we were at the vigil in South Carolina, and some of her friends and sorority friends got up to speak. All of them described Samantha as a person who lit up a room, always smiling and laughing, always a great friend, and lit that room up when she entered it. When we got back to Robbinsville, approximately 6 or 8 of her friends got up to speak at the vigil. Each one said that Sammy was her best friend. And some could not get up to speak. That, to me, is a true testament of how great she is. Even to this day, the lasting impression and feelings she had or has on them. I look at my wife, and she's not even close to being the same. I have lost a huge piece of her, along with Samantha. Every day, I look at her and only wish I could do something to take that pain away. Her memory, laughter, her ease of life, her flame that burns inside is way down. My Sydney, she lost her best friend, her confidant, her baby sister. She is who I worry the most about moving forward. Sammy was a gaffer, talked a lot. Sid is tight now, keeps a lot in. In the end, you have taken my baby away. I will never see her graduate from college, law school, walk her down the aisle, and get married. To see the children, the grandchildren, all the milestones that one would normally experience if an animal or a monster did not take them away from us. And for what? What did you get from Sam? $10? $20? He took her life. Only an animal or monster does that. Judge, I only wish we could inflict the same or more pain he inflicted upon Sammy. Please, I beg you, please, give him life and never see the light.
Thank you. Mr. Gibson.
It's been 851 days of horror that this family has had to live through. You have their friends, their community. And today has been a catharsis of sorts as we've gone through this week or so of trial. And the jury has come back with a verdict based on the evidence. And based on that evidence, Judge, I respectfully ask you, I know that you've listened thoughtfully and to all of the evidence that's been presented. And based on what you've heard, I respectfully ask that you impose a life sentence on the defendant for the murder of Samantha Josephson, the kidnapping of Samantha Josephson, and the possession of a weapon during a violent crime.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else from the state? Anyone else present who would like to address the court? Yes, sir.
Reverend Corvishley, Samantha's boyfriend. I don't have anything written prepared today. All I can say is that I've pictured this day for 28 months. The sleepless nights, the constant night terrors, even waking up all the way down the hallway from where my bed is. Because I'm such an active sleeper now, constantly paranoid, constantly afraid. Samantha's parents and her sister have shared with me that they lost a piece of themselves. I lost the love of my life that day. I'll never forget the last words that I spoke to her that night when she was with her friends. As I said before, I told her to enjoy the night. She deserved it. She'd just gotten into law school. Couldn't be more excited for what she had in front of her. What sticks with me to this day, and what he took from me, she said to me, you know, you are my person. And to me that represents, you know, that we wanted to spend the rest of our life together. I had my plans to move up to Philly with her, to be close to her, to spend time with her, and we were going to tackle life together. Your Honor, this girl that I wanted to marry, I will never find a love like that ever again. And it's because of the defendant standing right there. He took all that from me, and the constant anguish and sadness that I see this family and everyone here that you see behind me, and even more, the pain that they have to endure every day, the texts that I get at 3 a.m. that someone's afraid to get into their Uber. They call me to sit on the phone with them until they get home. That constant paranoia that's instilled in them every day because of this man. And probably many other young females and males out there as well that are out drinking and, you know, just trying to have a good time. Yeah, I just reiterate all that he's taken. You've seen the sadness this week and last week. I would ask for the strictest sentence possible. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further from the state at this time?
No, sir, that's all the state has.
All right. By the defense.
If it please the court, Your Honor, if you would hear from Nathaniel Rowland's mother first.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state have accused our son of a crime that he didn't commit. You
Ma'am,
know,
I'm not going to hear
all right,
any claim of innocence.
Okay,
He's been convicted by the jury.
okay. He's a very caring young man. This is a young man who went through high school, college, played ball, active in his church, never had anything against him. Now, I know as a mother, and a mother knows her child, I know my son didn't do this. I know.
How do you know that?
Sir,
How do you know that?
by the way I raised him.
Pardon?
By the way I raised him. And when you're a mother, and you're a truly good mother, and you raise your child in the right way, you would know when that child had done something or did something right or wrong. I can't. And I know he didn't do this.
No, I'm
But,
not going to hear any
yes, sir.
claim of what he
Okay.
did or didn't do.
Yes,
He is
sir.
guilty of murder. He's
Yes,
guilty of kidnapping.
Yes, sir.
He's guilty of possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. And if you had any testimony that you wanted to give for the jury to consider, the trial was the time to do that. I'm not listening to any claim of what he did not do. You are not a witness.
But he's a loving child. He's a good person, very respectful, and respect others. And I thank the court.
Thank you.
Please, court, Your Honor. Your Honor, I believe what Mrs. Rowland was trying to,
I heard her loud and clear, every word she said, and I don't know how you can tell me what you think she was trying to say. But
Well,
go ahead.
Your Honor, I would just respectfully request the same opportunity to address the court as the Josephson family was given. Nathaniel's parents were not charged with anything. They were not convicted of anything, Your Honor.
I am happy to hear from any and everyone who has something to say on behalf of the defendant. You'll have the same opportunity that was provided the state.
Certainly, Your Honor. So on behalf of Mr. Rowland's family, I would just like the court to know that they have stood behind him 100% from the day of his arrest. His mother, father, brother, and sisters all believe in him. They have believed from the beginning that the wrong person had been charged, and they still hold that belief today. So on behalf of the family, I would like Your Honor to know that that is the family's position.
In a sense, that will not be taken into consideration in any form or fashion in deciding a sentence. We're in the sentencing phase of the trial.
Yes, Your Honor, I understand that. I was just letting you know what the family's intentions were and what they were trying to let Your Honor know. They love Nathaniel Rowland. He is her son. His father is sitting here. His father has suffered a stroke over the past year and some change. His brother has been here the whole time. His sister had to work a few days, but she's been here supporting him also. So he's got a loving family who is in his corner and who are going to be by his side every day, whatever sentence Your Honor imposes upon him today. Mr. Rowland maintains his innocence of these charges, Your Honor. He pled not guilty from the very beginning. We understand that the jury has reached a verdict, and we understand that verdict is unanimous, but Mr. Rowland maintains his innocence of these charges. He is currently 27 years old, Your Honor. You heard that 800 and some odd days have gone by. He's been incarcerated since March 30th of 2019. Your Honor is fully aware, we all are, that murder has a mandatory minimum. He does not have any prior convictions on his record. His family is all here. He does have the support of his community, Your Honor. You heard that he was a pretty talented basketball player. He attended college. When he was in college, he worked in the dean's office. He was studying business management, was not able to, he was not able to graduate, but he had goals of opening his own business and was working towards that prior to getting arrested. On the night of his arrest, Your Honor, he was with his girlfriend. She is still standing beside him, behind him, still believing in that relationship, Your Honor.
His girlfriend?
Yes, sir.
Was it the same person that we heard from as a witness?
No, sir.
Go ahead.
That relationship is still there. It's still strong, and she still supports him in every way you can imagine, Your Honor.
Is she here?
No, sir, she is not here today. Your Honor, I would ask you to sentence Nathaniel to the minimum 30 years. It is not a small amount of time. It is a day-for-day sentence. Being 27 years old, going in, he will be well into his 70s before that sentence is complete. He does not have any sort of violent history. He has nobody that we've talked to, his family would tell you that he does not have a violent bone in his body. They don't understand it, Your Honor. He has no history of anything or any allegations like this in the past. And, Your Honor, we would respectfully ask that you consider the minimum sentence and run all sentences concurrent.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak on behalf of the defendant? Yes, sir. You can remain seated if you want to. You can stand or sit.
I'm Nathaniel Rowland. I'm Nathaniel Rowland's father. Now, Judge, I got 4 different kids beside Nathaniel. And believe me, I went through all the schooling from kindergarten to college, and I was right there. I never seen any backbone in his blood. He always been a determined child, all through his life. Now I can't tell you what happened. I don't know what happened. But I know deep down in my heart that this young man, he didn't do this. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for Miss Josephson's family. I am so sorry for her family. I I know what they're going through, because we go through the same thing, because we cherish our children. But I pray and hope that you be as lenient as possible with the evidence that was presented. And, that's all. That's all I'm gonna say. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Anyone else on behalf of Mr. Rowland? Response by the state.
On a somewhat unrelated matter, unless I'm mistaken, I believe, due to the conviction for kidnapping, that there should be no sentence, the conviction for the murder, there should be no sentence imposed for the kidnapping, I believe is the way the statute reads.
Say it again, please.
I believe the kidnapping statute, 16(3)(9)(10), outlines that the penalty for kidnapping is imprisonment not to exceed 30 years unless sentenced for murder. So I believe that the murder sentence consumes the kidnapping sentence. That's the way I read the statute.
Do you agree with that, Ms. Pennick?
Yes, Your Honor, I would agree with that. And I'd also ask that you, because of the kidnapping conviction, put on whatever sentencing sheet that he not be required to register, since it's not a sex-related allegation.
There's certainly no objection to that, as I believe that language would be appropriate. And the other matter to consider from a sentencing standpoint, Judge, is the possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. If Your Honor is to impose a numerical sentence, then I believe that you can obviously impose the 5-year sentence, but as I read 1623(5)(90), that 5-year sentence does not apply if Your Honor chooses to impose a life sentence.
If the defendant will come before the court for sentencing. Mr. Rowland, during my time on the bench, I have presided over many murder trials, and they typically involve shootings. And with what seems to be an epidemic of criminal activity now, on a monthly basis, we encounter people accused of murder, people convicted of murder. This is the first time, however, that I've presided over a case where a victim was stabbed 120 times. The last case I participated in, where a victim was stabbed and tortured, resulted in a jury imposing the death penalty, which in this state is defined as murder accompanied by aggravating circumstances. And certainly a kidnapping is an aggravated circumstance. And I hear a lot of mothers tell me what a good child their child is. And quite often I have to unfortunately tell those same mothers and fathers that your child was a good child. But that's when he was a child. And my heart goes out to the Rowland family, as well as the Josephson's family. My heart goes out to someone from the same part of the state that I am from. You know, you participate in sports, and at East Clarendon, I presume you played basketball against C.E. Murray, did you? My high school. So I take no joy whatsoever. When I looked at the map that was shown to the jury, the telephone towers, when the officer, witness testified that there's another tower over here, the map showed that that tower is in King Street, where my chambers are. So this is painful, but not nearly as painful as the suffering by the Josephson family. Is there anything you would like to say?
Your Honor, I know I'm innocent. But I guess what I know and what I think really doesn't matter. I just wish the state would have done more in finding out who the actual person was, instead of being satisfied with detaining me and proving my guilt. I feel like if they would have done further research in certain areas, that's all I got.
And I've sentenced a number of murderers, many of whom have confessed, and I asked them, tell me about the murder. Tell me about the time you pulled the trigger. And I have yet to have one who could go back there. Everyone, each of them, have blotted the whole thing out of their mind as if it never occurred. And they can't take their mind back there sufficient to tell me. And I imagine they live in torment the rest of their days because they can't. The evidence in this case was, I chose the word an avalanche of evidence, and now I've seen it repeated a few times. I've heard it repeated. But the evidence in this case was so overwhelming. The law enforcement in this case did the best job of investigating a case that I have seen over the past 30 or 40 years. Every law enforcement officer that was available participated, apparently, in working in this case. And if there were 1,000 roads, each road led to you. There's 1,000 trails, each trail led to you. All of the evidence, every speck of the evidence, not simply beyond a reasonable doubt, but as high a standard as the law requires, all points to your guilt. And I am absolutely satisfied. I can certainly understand the family being in total disbelief that the child that they raised could do such a heinous thing, could commit such a murder. And I have dealt with the heartless, and you fall into that category. a person without any remorse whatsoever. A person who is totally emotionless. And in the law we call it a depraved heart. And it would be absolutely astonishing, amazing to me for the truth to be that you have engaged in this activity all of a sudden. That there are not signs that your family can point to, that your friends can point to, where if some intervention had taken place, this young lady would have been protected. I don't know that. But as much as your mom feels in the bottom of her soul or pit of her stomach about you, I feel that same thing based on my experience and based on my observing you and witnessing the evidence in this case. So I want to thank the jury for your focus on this case. I noticed that you all were totally engaged and tuned. Thank you very much on behalf of the citizens of Richland County and the citizens of the state of South Carolina. And South Carolina is a wonderful state, a lovely place, and people from all over the country, particularly the Northeast, choose South Carolina because of its beauty and charm and people, and Columbia for all of the same reasons, because we live in such a wonderful state, such a diverse state, where there are opportunities for everyone, and certainly opportunities for you. And for you to have attended South Carolina State University, if your parents have given you as much as they gave you, and for you then, your life story to end right here at this point in time. Of course, your life story doesn't end, but this is certainly a stop along the way. It is a tragedy. And whatever tragedy that causes these demons to reside within your soul and spirit, I don't know. Maybe at one point in time, since this is not a death penalty case, they can be exorcised out of you. Mr. Goldberg made his closing argument and talked about, in the end, the consequences that would have had to exist in order for this not to be you. That someone would have had to steal your car, steal your car keys, kidnap Samantha, kill her with your tool, then bury her in your home territory, then miraculously get the car back to you in time for you to go to the ATM in Sumter and here in Columbia. Then turn over your car back to you with all the blood throughout it, all of Samantha's blood except for several teaspoons. And the story goes on and on. The evidence is so substantial in this case, pointing to your guilt. And I emphasize that and re-emphasize it because of the horrific and most brutal nature of this crime. It could not be worse. It's the most severe murder that has occurred that I have been a witness to as far as presiding in court or participating in as a lawyer. And for whomever asked me for leniency, that's not part of my DNA. You know, I have 2 daughters, one of whom sit in this seat more often than I do, and another of whom live in a city who have to encounter people on a daily basis. And I have sons. I would like to think I know my sons and my daughters very well. Certainly, I would be in disbelief if any of them were to find themselves standing in a spot like you. But even more so, the terror imposed on their child and the pain and grief that you have caused. She was an amazing person, an amazing human being, and the testimony is here. And she obviously put up an amazing fight against you and left a sufficient trail for the jury to see what you did. Now, you're not a dumb person. You're not an unintelligent person. You've been educated, trained, and you have a degree of intelligence. You certainly have the ability to choose a different course. But there's no perfect crime. These days, with forensic evidence, your whole 24 hours was recreated almost minute by minute, mile by mile, digit by digit. That's led you here, and you've now been found guilty. And sentencing in this case is not difficult. The sentence in this case is easy, though painful it may be. The sentence of the court for murder is that you be committed to the State Department of Corrections for life. Any other sentence that can be imposed will be concurrent with life. Since you only have one life, that sentence must be served for the remaining days of your natural life. That's the sentence of the court. If you remove Mr. from the courtroom, Mr. Rowland. Just as a comment regarding Mr. Rowland being able to interact with his family during the trial, first, he was chained. We would never let a person who's incarcerated roam freely. He was chained and guarded by law enforcement. But I believe in the presumption of innocence. And for a person not to be punished prior to conviction. Thank you all very much. Thank you all for a job well done. Thank you for the manner in which all of you have acted in the courtroom. And ladies and gentlemen, you have done your service on jury duty. You may retire. Congratulations on a job well done, Madam Forelady. And all of you, I don't know who did the best job. I know it's always painful, but each of you all performed and did your jobs equally, especially to the law student back there who has given me his 403 already to sign. I'm sure it will be a lesson that you will not duplicate in law school, and an opportunity that Samantha will not have an opportunity, sadly, will not have an opportunity to experience. So thanks to all. Court is adjourned. George, if you'll go this way, please, following the bailiffs. To the media, I have an additional order of